All right, welcome to another day of, or hour or so, of adventuring with Psoto Desperado on Ark Survival Ascended, the Supreme Gaming Island server. We're going to review some videos. That guy, Joey the Gypsy, got my attention, so we'll start with one of his videos. Right after we join. Now, last time we were on there, I was making all of these parts to make traps. Well, I finally decided to go out and I'm going to start scouting around for Megatherium and Rexus. And that's pretty much it. Because I can't really mutate these creatures very well, I don't have the element necessary to do good mutations unless I want to do it the old-fashioned way, which you can do it the old-fashioned way if you want, but not always recommended. It just depends. Oops. Hate that thing. Alright, so I set up Bernardia with everything I need to start taming shit. Got all the parts. And there we are. Now I think I can make a good trap, so like I said, I'm trying to get several Rexes, Megatherium, because I don't have good Rex saddle, but I have Megatherium saddles, for example. Was it here? It's a trike saddle. Oh, I put it over here. I forgot. Here. This is the best Megatherium saddle I have, 84.4. So that means if I have a bunch of Megatheriums, I can definitely take on the Broodmother at gamma level, maybe even beta. I can't do alpha. Alpha, they'll die, but probably gamma or beta. And that's what my real target is. If I can get a good Rex in there, I'll save a good Rex. Why not? You know, nothing wrong with having a good Rex. And so far, oh, let me turn the fog off. And the clouds. There we go. See? Nice and clear under the water now. Man, I hate the water fog and all that shit. That's crazy. So I look around, spot something that I could try to get. I could try to get other things. I have a little bit of narc on me. So I got narc, I got guns, I got a bow and arrow that has good damage, like 663.6% damage. Got all these basic parts, that's all I need. And the idea is to start trapping some high level stuff. I'm also looking for a male Daeodon pig. That's another goal. Just a nice little water pen. Trying to stop up here. There we go. Alright, let's turn on Joey's video. I don't want to be lagging like I was last time. Joey the Gypsy. Now this is an interesting video. He's going to give us more insights as to what these homeless people do to support themselves. 41 ways that homeless people can make money. So this guy is living out of his minivan. He's got experience. He doesn't seem like a bad person, so I see what Joey
All
has
right.
to say.
This video might end up being long. I might have to break this one up into 2 parts or something. So I'm going to make a video explaining all the ways that homeless people make money. And I guarantee there's something on this list that you can do. Probably multiple things. So if you're ever on the street or you're afraid of being on the street, just know that you're still going to be able to make money. The main thing is you can't let yourself get pulled down into the depression and hopelessness and end up addicted to something, because that is how you get stuck out there. So I had to take notes for this one. I mean, I've got, damn it, I missed a whole, Jesus, hold on. Look at this. Hold on, let me redo my hair. Yeah, I mean, you also got to realize this is something that has been on my mind since before I was even homeless. You know what I mean? I was always afraid to be homeless, so I was always thinking, oh, if I end up homeless, what am I going to do to make money? You know? Well, really, no, that's not true, because it wasn't until I was living in Vegas when I was like, I need to figure out a way to make money, because my truck died in Vegas, and so then living a normal life with a normal job was out of the question. I had to figure something
That's
out
low level.
to go out on the strip and
136
make
is
money.
not good enough.
And I wasn't about to. I mean, I tell the story in other videos. Watch my Why I Was Homeless videos if you want to know what was going through my head at that point when I needed to make money in Vegas, because I almost turned into a damn thug on the street, but that didn't happen. So, all right, now I've broken it up into categories. Here's 41 ways to make money on the street. So the first category is panhandling, begging. Now, anyone can do this, but the downside to it is it's going to hurt your pride to be sitting out there begging every day. There's people who try to make a career out of this. I suggest you don't do that. This is what happens to a lot of the people who end up on drugs. They end up just panhandling. There's other things they could do, but it's just what they usually end up doing. So the first way to panhandle, you just get yourself a marker, get a piece of cardboard, make a sign that says homeless, hungry, anything helps, God bless. You know, you go the humble route. You're just begging for help. It's not hard to get a marker or a piece of cardboard. This is emergency shit. I never panhandled once on the street, but I explain my reasons in other videos. So another way to panhandle is you make like a funny sign. I need money for weed. I need money for beer. I bet you can't hit me with a quarter. I bet you can't hit me with $1. Something funny. My spaceship crashed. I need money for parts. You know what I mean? Then there's now in a city like New York, you got the subway, which is actually a valuable resource for a lot of reasons, but not the least of which you can hop the turnstile and ride for free. But you do that enough, you're going to end up getting arrested for it, which is just what happened to me. I kept hopping the train, and eventually they started catching me, and at that point you really can't do it anymore because they're just going to keep arresting you. So you could go on the train and just beg, which a lot of people do this too. They just go on the train, they walk up the train and tell everyone, like, I'm down on my luck, I got kids to feed, I need money.
A Yudi would be nice, but that's a low level Yudi.
Another thing people do is they have a pet and they panhandle with the pet, like a dog. They'll sit there with a dog, and believe it or not, people are quicker to give them money because a lot of people love animals. They don't care so much about people. Am I saying that's right or wrong? No, not really. But if you have a dog with you and you're panhandling, your odds of getting money are going to be higher. That's just a fact. I'll never forget one time I was on the train. This dude gets on. He looks like one of these, hippie type white dudes. You know what I mean? The type of dude who You ever seen that meme where he's like, "Yo, can I borrow everything?" Like this type of dude, like a white dude with dreads, or you know what I mean? The type of people who living on the street in New York. I've met a million of these people. They, you know, sometimes they're train hoppers, sometimes they're street performers, sometimes they're just party type dudes who just want to party and get wasted. But one thing they all have in common is they never hesitate to ask, can I borrow this? Can I borrow that? Can I get a cigarette? And the other thing is they never have nothing to give. They just take, 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 take. And my policy with them is I'm not cheap with my cigarettes. Even at the worst of times, I was not cheap with my cigarettes because I know how it is when you ain't got no money, you ain't got no cigarette. Sometimes you just need a cigarette. So I'll give anyone a cigarette the first maybe 5-10 times they ask me. After that, I'll be like, look, I've given you 1,000 cigarettes and you just keep asking. You never even try to get your own anything. So here, I'm going to give you one last cigarette. Don't ever ask me again. And from then on, they'll even still ask you. And I'll just be like, bro, I told you last time, no. And that's the answer from now until the end of time. I'm never giving you another cigarette, ever. And that's my policy with them. So that covers the panhandlers. Now, I'll get to this one. Hold on. So now, here's another. Now this is the next category. This is kind of thievery. So now, if you ever seen that movie, Heaven Knows What, I keep mentioning that movie lately, but it keeps popping up in my videos. I don't do it on purpose. But one of my best friends, Ilya, they made this movie about him and Ariel. It was Heaven Knows What. Now in that movie, at one point, Ilya and Ariel, the way they're racking up funds is they're stealing the 5-hour energy drinks. I don't know if they even still have these, but this is a real method that homeless people use. They go into CVS, they go into Dwayne Reed, Genevieve's, whatever, and they just steal all the 5-hour energy drinks, as many as they can, and then they go to the newsstands, which are all over the place in Manhattan, and they sell them to them guys, and those guys will usually buy them. They don't care where it came from. So the 5-hour energy drinks is, don't get me wrong, I'm not telling you this is what you should do. In fact, you should not do this, because you got to realize you're not going to build up in life from these type of methods like stealing and begging, and you're just going to get stuck there. But now, if you're just using it as an emergency to rack up some funds real quick to get a bicycle or something, or this is emergency type shit I'm starting out with. So the stealing method, you got the 5-hour energy drinks, which the newsstand guys will buy them. I couldn't tell you for sure if they still do that in New York, but I'm guessing they do. Them newsstand guys will buy anything. But like I said, I don't suggest you live this way. Another thing is Red Bulls. That's people go into CVS, whatever, steal as many Red Bulls as possible, and they go and sell them to other characters running little shops and bodegas and newsstands around New York City. So Red Bulls and 5-hour energy drinks are the most valuable things that you can get under those circumstances, and they're not worth much, you know what I mean? But it's a way to rack up $50 real quick if that's what you got to do. Now, then there's boosting, which there's people in New York who they're career boosters. Basically, they go in stores and they steal nice clothes, shoes, sunglasses, whatever, then they sell them on the street. I bought a pair of Prada sunglasses for $20. They're $500 sunglasses. I Googled the serial number, everything. They were legit Prada sunglasses. I still have them, but I broke them. Cool, best pair of sunglasses I ever owned. They just looked so cool. And like I said, I'm not suggesting you do these things. This is emergency shit. And the whole boosting thing, it's risky. The people I know who did that were the people who needed to rack up hundreds of dollars every day because of massive drug habits. So these guys need to rack up so much money that They ain't got time to play around with the panhandling shit. They are going, you know, and they're risking a lot because it's a felony if you're stealing over 1,000, and they're going for the most expensive things they can get. So there's that method. And you know, you got this new thing going on in New York where they just go in and they'll steal a shopping cart full of shit and then set up a table outside of stores and sell it, or they'll sell it on Facebook Marketplace. That's the new thing they're doing, and that's only because they've changed the laws to kind of allow that type of thing. I think they don't even arrest you if it's under $900 in New York now. So they're basically just like, they've almost made it legal. Now, those methods, the stealing methods and shit, I'm against it. The only time I ever stole was when I really needed to eat and I had no other method. My buddy Ben, one of my best friends on the street in New York, it was a rough winter one year and I had about $500 saved up. We're already getting deep in the winter, so my money was dwindling. And then we had like this, maybe winter 2018, 2017, around there. We had a couple of months where the weather was so bad I couldn't work. And my buddy Ben was brand new out on the street. I'm friends with his father. I'm friends with Ben. And so I was letting Ben just kind of hang out with me. First of all, because I liked him. If I didn't like Ben, I wouldn't have let him just hang out with me. And I was just kind of teaching him, you know, just helping him out and trying to just make life a little easier for him. So Ben, I was smoking him out every day, my herb. And if he needed money to eat, I'd throw him a couple bucks to eat. But my money was dwindling. So one day, I'm like, Ben, you gotta, today, we're in McDonald's, I'm drinking my coffee, and I think maybe I bought him a bacon, egg, and cheese or something. I don't eat in the morning. But, so we're sitting there, and I'm like, yo, today is the day, bro. You need to figure out how to make money because my money's dwindling, and I'm looking at the future forecast here, and it's not looking good. So I can't keep spending my money on both of us. You got to figure something out today. If worse comes to worse, you got to go out there and panhandle. This is how it is, bro. You got to learn how to.
Before Shopify, were you wondering, where are my sales at? But now you're selling with Shopify. You're easily selling online, in person, and beyond. Discover how millions of entrepreneurs use Shopify to ignite their selling. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/YouTube audio.
You got me.
You know, you got to learn how to depend on yourself because this is the world we live in. You know, even if I had $1 million, I wouldn't take care of you forever because it ain't doing you no good. You got to learn. So I was saying, today's the day. I don't care what happens. I'm not giving you a red cent today. I'm doing this for your own good. So don't ask me for nothing. If you ain't got no money later, don't ask me. And so, you know, I went out and did whatever I was doing. Anyways, later on in the day, we meet up. I smoke him out. He's like, yo, man, I'm fucking starving. This and that. I'm like, what'd I tell you before, bro? Like, I told you, I'm not, it ain't doing you no favor. This is, you know, sometimes life teaches hard lessons, and I can't give you none today. So what I would do if I was you, I would go into CVS and I would steal a can of Chef Boyardee or some shit. That's what I would do if I was in your shoes. I wouldn't ask nobody. That's what I would do. And so that's what he did. And when he came back, he was proud of himself. And I was like, yeah, I mean, you know, it's not good to steal or whatever, but it is good to provide for yourself. And now you know. Now he knows for the rest of his life, if he's starving and he don't need nothing from nobody, he can go get it himself. And the next day, he started trying to make money panhandling this stuff because he realized, like, nah, bro, it's time to learn, you know? So, all right, that covers the stealing portion of it. And like I said, I don't suggest that you do any of those things unless you absolutely have to. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. And if you really want to keep your karma straight and stay in, you know, keep the gods on your side, when you get your money up, go throw them a couple of bucks for whatever you stole from them. You know what I mean? So really, it's just borrowing. All right, now another method, which I don't suggest you use, but it's one that a lot of homeless people use, is They get on food stamps. They take their food stamps to the grocery store. They spend it all on water, and they buy a cooler. They go into Central Park and they sell water. Some of them sell beers. Some of them sell sodas. Some of them sell whatever drinks, but they use food stamps to get them. And I don't suggest you do that unless you absolutely have to. But that's another. I'm just telling you how it is out there. These are the things people do. Another one, they could sell chips and candy, which it's kind of some high school kiddie shit. You don't see much of that on the street, but you could do it. You know what I mean? And really, it's probably better than water, because with the water you got to deal with a heavy cooler full of ice and drinks and shit. You know what I mean? So there's those methods, which, I don't really agree with none of them. All right, now there's some gangster shit you can do, which I suggest you don't do this either, because you also got to realize that you don't really want to have a rep as like a dangerous gangster thug on the streets when you're homeless, because a lot of people are not going to want you around. They'll be nice to you. They're not going to just be dicks to you, but they're going to try to avoid you as much as possible, because they don't want to deal with whatever you bring. A lot of these gangster type people have enemies. They make enemies all the time, and nobody really wants to be involved in it. No one wants to get pulled into whatever beefs you got going. So if you want to be a gangster, you got to realize there's a lot of negative shit that comes with it. But here's the things that gangster type people do. Now there's, selling weed, selling drugs. That's not so much gangster, but it ain't a good way to make a living. I've sold a little bit of weed here and there. There's not that much money in it. What was happening with me is I was smoking up all my profits, so I was just getting free weed out of it, basically. So there's that. Then there is, you could be like hired muscle. Now, if you can't fight well, this is not going to work for you, because you'll just be out there getting your ass whooped. But my buddy Ben, who I was talking about, one of the toughest kids I ever met, there was people on the street in New York who would try to hire Ben as their muscle to go out and beat people's asses for them and to defend them against other people. And so Ben was asking me if I thought that was a good idea, and I said, no, I don't think it's a good idea, because these people, they ain't loyal to you, bro. Like, you can go out there and have this rep for whooping everyone's asses. He already had that rep, but fighting for yourself is one thing. Fighting for money and people paying you to go do damage to other people, I don't think it's a good idea. You're out there making a bunch of enemies, and you don't want to be in that world. I told him, I was like, do what you want to do. If it was me, I wouldn't do it. He ended up not doing it. Then there's, and I shouldn't even mention these, but because I'm totally against this, but there's robbing drug dealers, and then there's robbing the tourists, and that's another two methods. Oh, a thing I forgot to mention with the panhandling is there's the aggressive panhandlers who, they'll ask for money, but their energy is like, if you don't give me something, I'm gonna fucking take something from you. That's almost robbery, in my opinion, and I saw it all the time in New York. Like, because a lot of people in New York City nowadays are not from New York City, so they're easily threatened and shit. Those aggressive panhandlers, that don't work on people from the city. People from the city are gonna be like, nah, fuck you, do what you're gonna do, bro. You know what I mean? Me personally, that's a surefire way to guarantee I won't give you shit, is by coming at me aggressively. Nicely, if you ask me nicely, maybe, but if you're like putting up like this threatening energy, I'm like, fuck no, bro. And like, I don't care what you think you're gonna do, that's not happening. I'm not, I wouldn't even give them that much explanation. I'd just be like, no. And that would be pretty much it, because they don't want to actually do anything. They just want, this is their method, so this is what they do. And most of them know better than to be asking local New Yorkers like that, because local New Yorkers who are from New York are not going to let you do them like that. The people who come there from Maryland or, all these people who move to New York, they don't know how New York is, and they're a little scared and shit that it works on them, it don't work on New York. All right, now we'll get, so that's the end of the thug shit. Now we'll get to the street performing. Now, street performing, if you have any type of artistic talent, you can make money on the streets with your artistic talents. There's music. If you can play an instrument, that's a great way to make money. In my opinion, every musician on earth should street perform at some point, just for the experience of it, just to make actual money off your talent and nothing but your talent. I think it's a good thing to know how to do. And the musicians who I saw in New York who made the absolute most money were, it was a band that would play in Washington Square Park, and they had a very original and unique sound, and they would sell CDs the whole time. They made so much money. And then there was another jazz band in Washington Square Park. They're probably still there. They would make a lot. Then there was a piano player in Washington Square Park who would drag a piano out there, and he would make a lot of money just because of the spectacle of it. And he was also he was good on the piano. So people coming in the park, they see a piano player, they're like, let me throw this guy a couple bucks. This is just cool. He would sell CDs too. And I asked him one time, because I was in the park all the time, I was like, what do you live around here? How do you get this piano out here? He's like, no, I live in I think he lived in Queens or something, but he was storing the piano. He was paying someone around there to keep the piano in their storage unit or their house or something. But so that there's music, and the more unique it is, the better you're going to do. You know what I mean? If you're just doing the same thing everyone else is doing, it's not going to be as successful as something like playing the piano, or there's these weird drums that almost sound like pipes, those like weird steel drums and shit. You can, and then there's banging on the buckets and all that type of shit. But if you're doing the like drum type shit that's really loud and abrasive, you don't want to be around other street performers and artists and stuff, because they're going to get annoyed by you sitting there all day doing that. Then there's the acrobat street performers. If you're good at gymnastics, tumbling and flipping and jumping over people and stuff like that, you can do that. You can do that on the train, or you can do it in the parks. Those guys make a lot of money. There's contortionists who just bend themselves into weird shapes and shit, and they make a lot of money. Then there's regular street acts, like they're almost like clownish type acts. They do juggling, they do the stilt thing, they do the mime thing. You don't see that much of that nowadays, but it's still around the city occasionally. Magicians, another that kind of goes hand in hand with the jugglers and all that shit. They do simple card tricks, or, I mean, here's the thing, and I hate to like blow the magician's cover or whatever, but anyone can do that. Anyone can be a magician. You just Google how the tricks work. You buy the tricks in magic stores. Anyone can do it. If you're desperate for money, there's one way to do it. Just research all that magic shit and go do street magic. You can walk up to people and do card tricks, or you can pull a crowd and do it like that. Then there's tarot card reading. There was this girl Lola in Central Park who used to come out occasionally and sell bracelets. And she always had a cat with her. And I told her one time, I was like, Lola, if I was you, I would start reading cards, and I would get a turban for myself and a little turban for my cat. You'll make thousands of dollars every day. She never did it, but she was cracking up, and she was like, yeah, that probably would work. I mean, I think she would have killed it, but you can't, like, you got to do what feels right for you. And it just wasn't for her. But I was thinking, because I was watching Lola struggling all day, and I was thinking, if I was Lola, and also I kind of have some psychic intuitive abilities, so card reading has always been in the back of my mind. But if you do it in a funny way with a turban and the cat's got a turban, she would have killed it, I think. Or you could be serious about it. But here's the thing, if you're going to read cards, I suggest you don't do that unless you actually have some intuitive and psychic type abilities. Otherwise, whatever, do what you want to do. But then there's joke telling. I used to know a guy in Times Square, very aggressive, like very confident, very outgoing. He was a crackhead, straight up, half his teeth were missing, but he was so confident and so outgoing that this is what he used to do. He was a black dude. He would walk up to white tourists, preferably in the boomer generation, and he would tell them, he'd be like, yo, if I can make you laugh, will you throw me a buck or something? They'd be like, sure. And so he would tell them all the same joke. And I forget what it was, but it was something that played off their white guilt. Like something about what's the worst thing a white person can have or something. And it's like, I don't even want to say the joke because I don't want to. But it was like an offensive joke, demeaning to himself. And it would make them feel guilty, and they would usually give him like $20, and so I'd be out in Times Square doing my $1 one joke thing with jokes I wrote, because I wanted to use my God-given gifts and abilities to make money, and so he'd be making like $400 or $500 in an hour or two, and I'd make like 20 in the same amount of time, and he'd be like, "You're dumb, bro. Like, you should be doing what I'm doing, and this and that." But here's why I didn't do that. If I did do that, I'd probably still be doing it and living this crackhead lifestyle, even though I wasn't on crack. But, I stuck with my guns, and I stuck with what was true to myself, and I made a lot less money, but my life has changed, and I'm guessing his hasn't. He's probably either dead or in jail or still hustling up massive amounts of money and blowing it all on crack the same night and waking up with nothing every day. So that's the thing with fast money. Easy come, easy go. A lot of these guys who figure out ways to really hustle up a lot of money, what happens is they end up blowing it all on nefarious activities. I'll just leave it at that. So there was his method of joke telling, and there was my method of joke telling, where I was telling jokes that I wrote myself. I don't suggest you do my method either unless you are very serious about writing jokes and doing stand-up comedy and stuff. Then another street performing thing I've done is stand-up comedy on the train. I would go on the train, damn, this video's getting long, with a little mic and a little amp, and I would do a quick set, and I would hit the audience up for tips. I didn't like doing it. I felt like I was forcing my comedy on people, but when I really needed money and the weather was bad, that's what I did. I would go on the train, I would do stand-up comedy, I would get on the L train, and I would do my set in between Brooklyn and Manhattan, because it's like the longest stretch of train. Or, believe it or not, I would do it on the 1-2-3 line up around Harlem. There's a long stretch, but here's the thing. The train is loud. The people are not in a good mood. They don't want to hear stand-up. It's probably the hardest place on earth to do stand-up comedy, is on the train in New York, but I've done it. All right, now here's another thing with the street performing. There's people who make bubbles. They go into Central Park or Washington Square Park or Union, wherever some tourist attraction in New York City, and they get this bucket filled with like dish soap and water, and they make these big bubble wands out of sticks and strings, and they blow these big, huge bubbles, and they get tips doing that. And then there was another dude in Washington Square Park. Now, this is a different. There's the bubble thing. You can do that. It's cheap to get going. Anyone can do it. Just look up on YouTube how to do it. Then I seen one dude in Washington Square Park, and I thought this was actually pretty brilliant and original. Apparently he was a really good wrestler. And when people would go by, he'd be like, if you can get me down, I'll give you $100. But if I can get you down first, you give me 10. And this kid was like a state champion wrestler or something, and he would get everyone. He would get $10. And, you know, a lot of people in New York think they're tough. They think they're strong. They're like, bro, I'll get you down. Like, no problem. You're going to give me $100? He'd be like, yeah, but you got to give me 10 if I get you down. They'd be like, all right. And he beat, I've never seen him not beat the motherfucker. The dude was just good at wrestling. He was good at getting people down. And he it's not like he was slamming them down. He was getting them down easily and not hurting them, you know? So there's that. All right. Now, there's selling art. And here's the thing. You don't even need to be that good at art. You don't need to have any artistic ability to sell art. I saw artists I saw people on the street selling prints of other people's art, which I'm against it personally. Like, you're not an artist. You shouldn't be selling art. But, you know, you got to do what you got to do. So, well, let me go through the message. So, first of all, you could sell your original works of art. Banksy, that famous artist, which I think, personally, I think he's overrated, but he was in Central Park, but his paintings go for millions of dollars. He was in Central Park selling paintings for $60, and he barely sold any, which is funny because the ones he did sell, those people paid $60 and sold it for hundreds of thousands of dollars because it's a Banksy original painting and it's worth a lot of money. But it just goes to show you that how unappreciated artists are when it comes to just on the street level. He was barely selling any paintings, and he was only asking $60 a piece, and they're worth millions. So they're selling your original works. Now, what my suggestion is, if you're a painter or you draw, whatever, you could sell the original works, but you should ask for a lot of money for them. What you should be selling is prints of your original works. So you just go get prints of your drawings and paintings and you sell them for $10 a pop. And then, you know, there's the people who sell prints of other people's work, which I'm against it, but there's people who do it. There's people who sell prints of memes like Keep Calm and Carry On, that type of shit. They print it on a piece of nice photograph paper and they sell that for, they sell these things to the tourists. There is, you could do portraits. I used to do bad portraits and I would do a caricature of people. So, you know, you could do caricatures or you could do like serious portraits. And I'll tell you right now, I'm giving everyone permission to do bad portraits. That was my original idea. There's some other dude in New York doing it now. That, if you ask me, that I was the first motherfucker I ever seen doing it, and all of y'all now have my permission to do it. So, I mean, really, you should do your own thing, but worst come to worst, you don't draw that good, make a sign that says bad portraits, and I mean, the other thing is my style of drawing is kind of cartoonish and funny, and it would sell, and I got a bunch of tips and tricks that I used to use. When I would draw the girls, I would make them real cute. They used to love it. When I would draw the dudes, I would make it slightly insulting and make it kind of funny. They used to love it. So those are the tricks for being a caricature portrait artist. Then there is those people who do the spray paintings. They're not hard to do. You could YouTube it and learn it real quick. They spray paint a moon and spray paint like a quick landscape scene, flick some white paint on it for stars. It's not hard to do. Anyone can do it. Then you could sell little sculptures if you're good at making things out of clay or carving things out of wood. If you're going to do that, my suggestion is you try to bless it and make it with the intention of making it like a lucky charm and sell it as a lucky charm to people. But in my opinion, you shouldn't do that unless you truly believe that you can bless the thing that you're making and make it lucky for people. Carve little Buddhas or something, whatever. You could make jewelry with the beads and all that shit. balloon animals, face painting. You don't see much of that, but it's out there. People do it. Um, and so, hold on. All right, those are all those methods. Now the last thing, this is like regular job type shit. Now this, if you have no artistic talent, you don't want to be a thug, you don't want to do none of this other shit. I get it. It's not for everyone. Here's what you could do: get yourself a bicycle or a little scooter, like all the immigrants are getting. Someone mentioned this in the comments, which it's a good idea. Like, get a bicycle, do Uber Eats, get your money up, and then buy a scooter and do Uber Eats. And, you know, in New York City, where they just flooded the place with 500,000 to a million migrants, I don't know if Uber Eats is so good there now, but whatever city you're in, there's one way to make money. Panhandle enough money to get a bicycle, get on the bicycle, do Uber Eats, get your money up and get a scooter or an electric bike and keep doing Uber Eats, and eventually you'll be able to rent a room and get your life together. Another thing you could do, in the winter you could shovel snow. In the spring, summer, and fall you could just go into stores and be like, look, I'm homeless, I don't want to just beg for food, but if I clean your windows, will you guys give me something to eat? 9 times out of 10, they're going to say yes, and they're also going to give you a couple bucks. Now, here's something that not a lot of people know. Muslims, if you ask them for food, they kind of, according to their religion, they have to give it to you. Now, there's homeless people in New York who take full advantage of that, and they're always asking the halal carts for free food. It's not right. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't just be milking someone like that because of their religious beliefs. You know what I mean? You shouldn't be exploiting that. The only time you should ask them for food, in my opinion, is if you really need it. But there's people in New York who just exploit that, and they ask them for free food all the time. So there's the window cleaning for food. There's the snow shoveling. Last thing I'm going to mention, this is for outside of the cities. Get your money up panhandling or whatever. Go to the store and get yourself the bare minimum of cleaning supplies, Windex, like wet rags or whatever, and just get enough to where you can detail a car. Maybe get your money up and get some little portable vacuum or something. Get enough money to get the stuff to detail a car, and then put it all in a fucking cart, go around to these strip malls, which are all over suburbia, and go from door to door and tell the people who work in there, I will detail your whole car for $50 or whatever. They're gonna see a hard-working person down on his luck trying to make honest money, and a lot of them are probably going to hire you to do it because nobody wants to clean their own car, and you're doing it for cheap. Make $20, whatever. And my guess is you'll make a lot of money doing it. Someone was telling me one of his friend's kids was on the street, and he took him to the dollar store and bought him some cleaning stuff and gave him this idea, and apparently the dude turned it into like a business. Now he's got like a mobile car detailing business. He went from being homeless, pushing a cart around with a couple of little cleaning supplies in it, to now he's got like a minivan, and he's got like good equipment and stuff, and he makes a lot of money detailing cars with a mobile detailing business. So that's all the methods I know of. This video, I was trying to keep it a half hour, but it is what it is. So, I think there's something on that list for everyone. Like I said, I don't suggest you do the illegal things. There's always a price to pay, whether it is through the law or through God's laws. I mean, at the end of the day, the reason I didn't go the criminal route is because I answer to God. I don't answer to people, and I wanted to maintain my relationship with God. I wanted God on my side. I wanted the gods on my side. I didn't want to be abandoned by the gods. So I kept myself totally legal and legit. But you're going to do what you're going to do, and everybody's got to learn their own lessons in life. So I guess that's the end of this one. I appreciate every single one of you. Thanks for the subs. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for the likes. Thanks for the tips. Thanks for the Patreons especially. And I guess that's the end. And yeah, if you have any other ideas, put it in the comments for people who need these suggestions, because there's people out there having a rough time and they need suggestions on how to make money. So if I missed anything, feel free to put it in the comments. And if you have any questions that you want answered, try to get it within the first 30, because I usually try to answer the first 30 comments. So yeah, appreciate every single one of y'all, and I'll see you on the next one. Everybody have a good one.
There must be a cave around here. Otherwise, it wouldn't be this little spawn thing here. So, you know what? I think the cave might be around here. There might be a cave here. There it is. There's the cave. It's right here. And if I go in there, I bet you a bottom dollar. If the bird fits, I'll probably lose the bird, because there are things that'll dismount you. Like Microraptors and Megalosaurus. They'll go ahead and just grab you right off your mountain, chew you to death. For some reason. Alright, well, shit. I mean, that's if you know, that's hard times, brother. Hard times. People are just like doing whatever, saying whatever. Oh, I think I was just here. I didn't, I should have just grabbed this stuff and drop it. There we go. It's easier when you just drop it if you don't want it. Anyway, there's a cave there. See, I had all these fucking caves marked, and then they just disappeared all of a sudden. I don't know why. Jeez. Alright, so that's one of his videos. Let's go back over here. Thumbs up. 41 ways the homeless make money. Can you imagine being out there with a fucking sign, dude? Jesus. Alright, this other guy, I'm a subscriber. Sage Wanderer. I've been listening to him for years, but he's gone through all kinds of phases and stuff. But he is a brother of faith, and he's exorcised demons and things like that, according to his testimony. I've never met him or anything like that, but this is an interesting one. He just came out of nowhere, but it's a matter of perspective. Aliens, gods, demons, and angels. Coffee talk. They are coming. Let's see what he has to say, and after this, I'll end the video.
Sage Wanderer here, and welcome to Coffee Talk! Okay, so before I get started, I want to thank all of you who support the channel with your likes, your views, your subscriptions, your sharing of videos, and your financial support for this channel. I have been down due to several compounding circumstances, the last of which was 5 days of being ill. But I woke up feeling good this morning, and I want to thank all of you who continued to financially support the channel while I was down. I'm back in the saddle. I hope to be producing a lot of videos. Even though I was sick, I never stopped writing, and so I've got several videos to deliver, and they'll be coming your way soon. And today is the aforementioned promised Coffee Talk. So, if you're a viewer of mainly Coffee Talks and non-religious uploads on this channel, you might find, and you end up finding today's video interesting, you might like to look at some of my religious videos. Because at the core of this Coffee Talk is my spiritual warfare worldview, is the best way to put it. I've been accused of saying that it's the devil's fault for everything, but I believe that it actually is. I believe if humans were left to their own devices, we would commune with one another, nature and the divine, and there would be no conflict. That the author of all this is demonic in nature. And if you ask any Christian about aliens, they will tell you, most of them, a lot of them will say that aliens are demons. And with that, I agree. Now, having said that, when you flip it and say that demons are aliens, they have a problem with that. And I don't know why, because alien simply means not from around here. And I think all Christians could agree that demons are not native to the earth, but rather are from someplace else, which makes them by nature aliens.
Some people
The
say
problem
this
they
was their
have is that they
planet
have a
and we took
view
it over.
Of
Be aware of
spiritual
that.
things as being completely separate from technology. And I could argue that we look at aliens, and the information that we do get from alien encounters is that these beings are both spiritual, they have psychic abilities, they have abilities like telepathy, and technology. And it's purported by numerous whistleblowers that the UFOs that have been discovered through various means, and they've attempted to backwards engineer, they'll all agree, all the stories line up, that none of these alien craft have any controls. There's no joystick, there's no steering wheel, there's no pedals. And the understanding is they use telepathy to drive their spaceships. Don't. An old saying is that magic is just technology that we don't yet understand. So there is this link between technology and psychic ability that is not really, it's not really looked into even by our own government. But the Russians have been studying this for years. They've created a technological device that they claim can imprint in your psyche through telepathy words, phrases, images, and that there are many people who have been victims of different types of nefarious assassinations, and the claim is that they're using this psychic device. I wish I could remember the name of it, but it's like a psychic generator, and they're combining the concept of paranormal or psychic power with technology successfully. And I believe that this is the technology / magic of the gods. Don't. You know, you look back at mythology from every indigenous people, every ancient text, and you start to get a picture of gods that descended to this planet from someplace else. Typically, they're called star people. And they came here and brought with them a combination of telepathic power, psychic power, and some kind of technology that is interlinked with and working together with your own with their own psychic energy as an amplifier or a tool. We have descriptions in ancient texts from India and from the Greeks of wars that happened between these gods. Wars that involved weapons that seem like technology. Thor's hammer, he hits it on the ground and it causes an earthquake and people get blown in all directions. You've got the Neptune's trident, right? You've got Thor's, not Thor, but the other one, Zeus's thunderbolt, right? Looks a lot like a handheld weapon. But they also have telepathic abilities to read your mind, for instance, to inject thoughts and desires and images, emotion. They can project fear into you. This is all part of these ancient gods. And my argument is that angels and demons and aliens and ancient gods are all the same thing. They're not from around here. Can you say don't?
A 208 aloe is very tempting.
Christians have a hard time wrapping their mind around this.
I don't really
because
have a good aloe
they will
salad.
only
They're
recognize
kinda small.
that angels and demons have supernatural power without ever taking into consideration that they might also possess technology that works in combination with their telepathic powers. And so I've compiled a theory of what demons are after close to 20 years. How long has it been? Let's see. It's 20 years this year of being a exorcist, a practicing exorcist, I've encountered dozens of patients, dozens of clients who have demonization from 1 to thousands of these demons that are essentially inhabiting their bodies, taking them over. Now, only in most extreme cases do they take them over 24/7. It's more like they lie dormant until the right moment. Then they take over the person's body. Many of you have seen this kind of phenomenon, and you've chalked it up to a bad temper. You've chalked it up to an unstable person, maybe a mental illness, unresolved pain. But you've seen it where someone is one moment perfectly normal. Then some kind of switch flips, and they become insane, crazy, violent, full of lies, full of accusations, and you're wondering where it came from, like it came out of nowhere. Now, Alexander Stitchin, who is a famous Ancient Aliens author, and his writings are featured in the television show, was it Ancient Astronauts or Ancient Aliens? And this theory is kind of, I find it to be very believable when combined with what I know about angels and demons. You see, the demons I deal with on a daily basis do not have a physical form in this reality. I do believe, based on these ancient descriptions of aliens and gods from the Old Testament, Genesis 6, from Greek mythology, from Indian tales from India, and I do believe that they had, at one time in human history, physical bodies. But for at least the last couple of thousand years, or at least the last 1,000 years, it seems to me that finding proof of demons actually having a physical body is not really in the narrative. It's not in the record. It's not something I've ever experienced or witnessed. Everything is happening through telepathy. I always say that demons' greatest power they have over humans is the power of deception. And I talk about on my channel, on the religious sections, where I talk about devil fighting. And yeah, it's a fight, and sometimes you get hit. I recently got hit, but you know what? If you never got hit, it wouldn't be devil fighting; it'd be devil hunting, right? But this prey fights back, and so everything I've experienced shows me that this is all through deception, and that if they can get a human being to agree with them and partner with them, then they become very powerful. The human being can then have great feats of physical strength. They can exhibit great cunning intellect, even though they're not that intelligent in the earthly realm. Suddenly they get super smart, and they can actually cause people to become sick through witchcraft and spells and different incantations and magic words. There's another one from antiquity, magic words. And that it's up to us as individuals to protect ourselves from this through spiritual means ourselves, through understanding this process and how we can utilize the same power level or even greater power when we unite with the divine light of Christ. And we get spiritual authority then to deal with all of this demonic influence. But it is clear that once upon a time, 1,000 years ago, 2,000, 6,000 years ago, at some point, these demons that are now just simply operating through telepathy, at one time they were here in the flesh. Don't, demons in the flesh. Don't.
Yeah, that's what I heard right there. That's what I heard.
Demons, angels, gods, and aliens.
They used to live on this planet,
thing.
supposedly.
So why now, in modern times, are these demons limited to telepathic means only? How come they're not here demanding worship and sacrifice? How come they're not here turning people into stone and creating hybrid animal-human hybrid creatures? And why are they here not sitting on Mount Olympus ruling over all of us? Well, Alexander Stitchin talks about in his writings a planet called Planet X by scientists, called Nibiru by people who follow Stitchin. And the concept is there's another planet in our solar system that travels in an elliptical orbit that takes roughly 6,000 years to complete. I believe when you compare the timeline with the time of the gods when they were here, that coincides with Nibiru's return to close proximity to Earth. And that when you do the timeline and figure the timeline, that when the planet X or Nibiru is farthest away from Earth, that's when humans have the best time. The further away that planet gets from the Earth, the less power these demonic alien overlords, these gods of the giants of Genesis 6, the gods of the pantheon, the further away that planet is, the less power they have to influence us. That once they leave being here in the flesh, they have the power to inject thoughts in people's minds, to potentially possess people, to deceive people, to get people to commit all kinds of crime and depredations against their fellow man. They stir up wars. They promote living close together in cities. The Bible says, "Woe unto them who, when they build their houses end to end." And I think that this clumping together of humans, getting them in one proximity, is a tool of the devil. The devil doesn't like it when we live out in the rural areas and live the way God intended us to live. Homesteading, farmers, agriculturists, hunters, fishermen, family, and community. That's all things that the devil hates, right? The demons hate. Bunching us together in cities is almost a clue that the gods are about to return. Dun, dun, dun. Scary flying devil horn creature things. So my theory, my coffee talk, once again, can't hang my hat on this, I just find it interesting that this Nibiru planet might very well be the home to these alien demonic gods. That these that planet X, Nibiru, when it's on its back end of its trip and it's farthest away, the demons have very little, if almost no, power to influence us. It's like the telepathic signals and or the technology that they use is too far away to have any meaningful impact on humanity. And then you have a golden age, a time where there are no wars, a time when there is very little sickness, if any, a time when people get along and families build and communities build around the rural homesteading kind of small village model, not the big city, global government, new world order, open trade, it takes a village kind of thing. But when they mean takes a village, it means they want to control your children. But back to when villages really did help raise kids because everyone was related. And I think that's God's plan for humanity, is for us to live in this harmony and happiness and joy, paradise restored, right? A return to the Garden of Eden. And when Nibiru and these demon alien gods are so far away, they can no longer project their influence. But as that 6,000 year cycle starts to flip, and they start to come back closer to us on the back 3,000 years of that, you start to see an increase in demonic influence, an increase in extraterrestrial activity, an increase in things like sleep paralysis and alien kidnapping and even flying saucers. That once they start to get closer to us, they're more able to actually physically visit us in these technological spacecraft that are psychically powered and psychically controlled. And that's when you start to get real life alien demons showing up on our planet. But a symptom of this, before it starts to become a physical invasion, you start to see an uptick in the psychological control, an uptick in this telepathic influence, this deception, this demonic alien deception, where they go into our minds and breed all this discontent, and they breed all this competition, and they foster all of these wars and crime and depravities of all sorts. One of the benefits I have, that you have, being a viewer of my channel, is that you probably watch your local news and maybe a national broadcast and maybe one of your two favorite political YouTubers. But I spend countless hours, and let's be clear, I work 60 to 80 hours a week, mostly involving writing and gathering of information. And even when I'm sick, I'm still writing and gathering information while I'm sick as best I can. But one of the benefits you have of watching this channel is that I have my thumb on the pulse of the global stories, because I listen to the most obscure news broadcasts from the smallest towns and markets in America, from other countries, not just their mainstream, but also their local news in other countries. And I'm starting to see something over the past year and a half that is hyper alarming to me. It's extremely alarming to me. The sheer amount of violence, whether it's drive-by shootings for no reason, like what happened to this pastor recently, this controversial pastor. Some 75 rounds were fired at the front of his house, one of them lodging in the headboard of his little girl's bed while she was in it sleeping. And it was a very close call. You've got churches being shot up. You've got bishops being stabbed in their pulpits. You have parents doing horrible, awful things to their own children. Heard a story just today from here in America where parents were arrested because they had a 7-year-old and 9-year-old boys chained to a table. There's these stories of people who don't have a history of violence becoming violent. We've got this shooter in Kentucky who just randomly decided to pick up a high spot and shoot a few dozen cars and then disappear. And so that's a symptom and a sign of demonic influence. It tells me that people are being agitated through supernatural means, through psychic means. They're being triggered, they're being deceived, and they're being activated into all forms of violence and depravity, and it's getting worse. And the last year has been even worse. Could we see a time in the near future where Nibiru gets close enough that these aliens, these demons, these ancient gods, these fallen angels decide to take up physical form and plant themselves here on our planet and demand our subservience, demand our worship, demand our sacrifice, that they use us as slaves, that they physically take control of this earth? Well, if you've ever heard of a very popular, especially in Hollywood, religion called Scientology, you might be aware that this is part of their belief system as well. And they claim that a very violent alien race is on their way here and will arrive sometime in the future. It's inevitable. They have a plan. There's a movie starring John Travolta called Battlefield Earth, where this is John Travolta being a Scientologist. I believe this is a Scientology-based fiction about this future coming invasion of this violent race that uses and enslaves humanity. And honestly, if they can use their telepathic powers to soften up our beachhead, not unlike bombing defenses before you invade, if they can use the psychic bombing of causing us to turn on one another, there'll be less of us to have to deal with, because we have them greatly outnumbered. That is one thing that is very evident in the ancient alien tales, in the ancient stories, is that a handful of these creatures in the past came here in the flesh. But yet, because of their technology and or their spiritual power, they were able to enslave humanity and cause them to live for generations in fear. And I think that before coming here, if they can use their powers of telepathy, influence, and deception to demonically influence mankind to kill our own offspring, to fight one another in wars, to become evil to the core, to challenge everything that's good, to cause us all to bunch up in cities where we're more easily corralled and controlled. If they can do all of these things through their psychic methods, through their what we would call demonic influence, then when they show up in person, there'll be less for them to deal with, like softening up a beachhead before you invade. I believe that planet Earth is on the verge of being literally invaded by alien demonic gods of the past who have returned potentially on planet Nibiru that's getting closer. And this problem with evil running rampant in the world is just going to continue to get worse until they literally show up in person. And I've come to the conclusion that the book of Revelation isn't God's plan, but rather the book of Revelation is God's warning that these demonic forces, that this creature called the beast and his helper, the false prophet, which is a human being, that all these stories from the book of Revelation aren't really imagery. They're not really code. That they're literally physically describing some of these creatures with multiple heads and multiple horns, creatures that can fly. And they can use biological weapons, not just psychic weapons, not just energy weapons like the lightning bolt of Zeus,
they're all attacking
or
that
the
thing.
hammer of Thor. But they can also utilize animal creatures that are under their control that they bring here to our planet, which may be native to Nibiru. They may be something they picked up on their 6,000 year journey. And so, scorpions with the face of a human that fly and have a sting in their tail, people think they're describing some kind of drone or some kind of technology. They may very well be describing a biological creature that could be released on the planet to torment us. The ancient stories of the Athenians, the Greeks, the stories they tell, the ancient stories of, from India, there's a lot of this biological weaponry. So their technology isn't necessarily electrical based like ours. It utilizes some of that, but it utilizes a lot of biological technology combined with psychic spiritual power, right? Using that to control, for instance, hordes of animals, hordes of insects, right? Through telepathic psychic means. That these creatures are physically stronger than us, these gods, these aliens, these demons, they're physically stronger than us, they're psychically stronger than us, and they have technology that we can't wrap our minds around, and they have control over animals and creatures of their design and the ones that are native here as well. And the fact of the matter is, our only hope is to tap into the energy being beamed to this planet from some place that Christians call heaven, from some place that Stitchin might call the Divine Council or the Council of Elders. But there is a good force that sees these demon alien gods, potentially from Nibiru, as interplanetary scum that need to be dealt with, and they will give us the energy, power, and resources to defeat them. But we have to master the control of it. We have to push into God and resist the devil, and then the devil will flee, that we can get superior firepower over this demonic attack. But it takes all of us resisting the devil and pressing into the light. And so there is this fight between good and evil that's playing out. And it's more than just spiritual mumbo jumbo. It's more than just vibrations or energies. I believe these entities, although they are not immortal because they can be killed, Hercules killed some of them. Some of the heroes of the stories from India and from the Greek mythology and other indigenous stories and ancient tales talk about heroes that can rise up and kill them. Now, they appear immortal to us because, think about this, maximum lifespan for a human being is somewhere a little over 100 years. My grandma lived to be 105. My mom is 91. And so we live about that long. But a fruit fly, their total lifespan is just hours. Look at your own favorite pet. We don't get old till we get in our 60s and 70s. But an 8, 9, 10-year-old dog is getting old. Their lifespan is about 1/7 of the human lifespan. Dog years, heard of the concept? So we have the same kind of disparity in lifespan between us and these ancient aliens or gods or demons, that they do have physical bodies. They are experts in projecting images and illusions into the human psyche, and they do have the potential, once their home planet gets close enough to us, to physically visit us in the flesh and dominate us. And these demons or gods that come here might be the same ones from 6 to 10 to 12,000 years ago, right? These same gods might return, right? Because they're still alive. Their lifespan is much, much longer, infinitely longer than ours. But you are able to kill them when you encounter them in the physical form, because the heroes of the old stories often do that very thing. So, you know, I fight demons in the spiritual realm through psychic power, through power I tap into by aligning myself with the powers of light and goodness, God, Jesus Christ, and the angels, right, the Holy Spirit. And but I can foresee a time when those who do not ready themselves with spiritual power, who do not build spiritual defenses, will become inhabited by these demons. And then at some point, these demons will show up in the flesh. And staring one of these things down face to face and not letting them into your mind is going to be one of the greatest feats any human can accomplish. And you better have your psychic power at its highest level. You better have your spiritual warfare on point when these things get here, because the closer they get, the more powerful they get, the harder they are to resist. And the book of Revelation just tells about the invasion. It tells about when these demons get here in the flesh. It tells about when they take us over and try to destroy this planet and enslave us all, and how the divine counsel of God, God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Ghost, and all the holy angels return to do battle with these demons and drive them from our planet and save humanity and return us once again to the position of paradise where we are free from their influence. Maybe they destroy them all this time. If you can kill them, maybe they're going to kill them all. That's what I think the book of Revelation story really tells. And the second coming of Christ isn't necessarily just to scurry us away, but the angels are coming in the flesh, right? Real, live, breathing angels with flaming swords. Weaponry we don't understand. Technology we don't understand. Spiritual psychic power we don't understand. And they're coming here for one final battle. The battle of Armageddon. The battle between good and evil to liberate this planet from the demonic influence. I don't know. Tell me what you think. Did you find this interesting? If you found this kind of conjecture interesting, you might want to listen to some of the nuts and bolts discussions that we have here about spiritual warfare, because it's all related. Because we battle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers of wickedness in high places. But somewhere those things have flesh and blood. They're just not here right now. But they could be coming to your immediate future. Tell me what you think in the comments section. Don't forget to support this channel. Thank you to all of you who supported me through my downtime and kept my bills paid. This channel is funded completely by people like you, and thank you for taking care of me, and we'll see you next time on Coffee Talk.
I love that guy. He's crazy, man. Anyway, I've had experience with real life demons, and they suck. They really fucking suck. Really. And it's subtle things that kind of embed themselves in your soul, in your aura, in your field, if you want to call it a field, and they work on you, and they work on you, and they work on you in the background, figuring you out, finding your vulnerabilities, finding your control points, and then before you know it, you're doing something stupid that's going to get you killed, and somebody else maybe. So be warned. Though he comes off as just being funny, some of that shit's real. But anyway, something to think about, right? Like you said. Well, I'm going to end it here. I went around the island almost twice, and I couldn't find anything really good. The closest one I found was a 184, I think it was a Carnosaurus, but I don't need a Carnosaurus. I don't even have a good saddle for that. I have a Megatherium saddle, and I would collect Rexes, but you know, I wish I had the trap set up over there already on Carno Island, because that was a 240 thing over there. So maybe later on what I'll do is convert the boat into a trap and just park the boat over there. That way nobody can say, well, you see, I can convert this into a trap, get rid of all this other stuff that's in here. you know, and just convert it into a trap. It's going to be kind of hard to do that, but if I do it right, I should be able to do it correctly, theoretically. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm going to go ahead and end the video. I'm hungry. I got to get something to eat. But find these interesting people on the internet, I'll tell you. All right. Well, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.